The Prussian state is ruled over carefully under the watchful gaze of Queen Louise. Our power grows by the day as the great powers of Europe have no choice but to accept our seat at the table. Cooperation with Austria has given us the time needed to develop our economy and military to rival most European powers, even having the most advanced navy in the world built of iron, not wood. Yet danger is everywhere, with a recent Congress of Europe suggesting that nations may only hold colonies if they have the power to protect them. Britain and France have claimed vast swaths of territory in Africa, leading to another call of a Conference of Berlin to draw a map once and for all of claims in the region. If Prussia and its allies can create solidarity against the old powers, it will be the chance for new blood to gain power. This is the second part of our roleplay multiplayer Victoria 3 campaign as Prussia. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy. Thank you for having us here in Vienna. It is always a pleasure speaking with our Austrian friends.
Indeed, it is a pleasure to host as always.
We requested this meeting due to the danger we foresee on the horizon in the east. The Ottoman Empire's delegate here today, as well as those of the Why don't we start with the delegate from the Ottoman Empire, as I'm sure they could underline the threat of the Russians better than anyone else here.
The Russian Empire has, for decades now, encroached upon the territories of all of our various nations. We feel that these expansions that the Russians have made historically have been a deep cut into all of our authority regarding Eastern Europe. As such, we feel that it is necessary our empires to be able to, in a united move, reduce Russian power within the East.
To add on to what the Ottoman delegate has said, Kaiser, you know well the danger the European powers present. At the last Congress of Vienna, they made it clear that if one lacked the naval power, one has no ability to exert influence outside of Europe, or so they would claim. The Prussians, myself and my husband included, feel as though the danger that the British and French would give, since they are clearly working together, would be disastrous.
I hear your concerns and I hear your thoughts. I definitely think that we need to be wary of the Russian Empire. You are right. One concern I do have is, should we decide an action, it will be met with a reaction from the other nation. I think currently are on par with our nation. I don't think they have the necessary technology.
We've already actually caught several British, we think are British spies in the Pomeranian dockyards attempting to learn how we're doing this, and we're worried that they're going to have a working ironclad very soon.
I would be surprised if they didn't. I do believe that poking the bear may lead quicker to our downfall.
We're not meeting here today to suggest an immediate invasion and capitulation, destruction of the Russian Empire. At least Prussia's not. We're here more to discuss the danger that they pose and potential actions that may be taken if certain things happen, such as Russia moving closer to the British.
It may even be worth. I'll send a delegation to the Russians, see where they stand, see what their reactions are. And as it stands, a united front between France and the UK will be advantageous for the Russians to join.
Also, I know we do currently have a meeting, but we currently have the British invading Nigeria. And I think this is a great time to call for the Congress of Vienna that me and the Ottomans discussed about the partitioning of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, we are called here today on behalf of the Kingdom of Prussia, as well as many other interested groups throughout Europe, to discuss something that was briefly addressed, but never exclusively defined, nor a conclusion came to at our last Congress, not but a year ago, when the certain powers attempted to exert influence in the Far East. But this is not regarding the Far East. We wish to speak today on the African issue. We are finding more and more, as are other European powers, that the resource riches of Africa are nothing if not extreme. There is wealth there, beyond belief, that could build an empire, a superpower, even a modern Rome perhaps. And the Prussians, as I'm sure many other great powers feel, that this should not be allotted to one, or even two, but split among the great powers of Europe, for we all have the right to claim that which we can take. There are many in Europe, the Prussians included, who are in the process of building up a navy that could contend any power in Europe. But Prussia does not wish for war. We wish for economic peace and free trade, like the British espoused not long ago. Therefore, we are formally proposing that in this meeting here today, gentlemen, we define the lines in Africa wherein nations have a right to and where they do not have a right to.
Great Britain wishes to pass. We do not understand what this exactly the matter is, and will wish to take a seat later in order to be clarified on the situation. So the Prussian wishes to divide up Africa between ourselves in a Congress of Vienna style. It seems
Correct.
rather adversarial. This is something that could be handled
Adversarial would
behind
be
closed
for us
doors.
to put together a coalition to fight the French and the British and to stop them from seizing all of Africa.
You keep making threats about coalitions against us when we are merely colonizing the world, colonizing Africa due to our capacity to.
Of course.
The reason that Germany and other countries have been unable to colonize Africa is due to their own capacities, as they have stated. You're building a navy, yes, but it is nowhere near the naval power of even the Dutch to be able to colonize.
Do you not sail ships of wood?
Does the Prussians wish to offer a proposal first?
Yes. We wish for all of the great powers of Europe and major powers and colonizers here today to be able to define certain regions of Africa as their right to colonize where others cannot attempt to do so.
Yes, this is possible, but we do not understand exactly what modes you wish to decide this by.
We have maps, do we not?
The French delegation will concede that it would be more fair for the other European powers to get parts of Africa.
For those who have not had a voice in Africa, we call upon the other powers to speak, and we would wish to hear what you would like out of Africa before Prussia would even wish to speak of our own.
The Spanish delegates would like to bring forth the Spanish crown's interests in the region above the Congo.
So the Austrian delegation would like to express interest in colonizing the eastern regions of Africa.
But I do not understand where the Prussians get this insistence that we are not allowed to have other regions.
We're not saying you're not allowed to have it. We're just making it clear that this is a distribution of lands in Europe. Unless you intend to fight all of us, I don't think
We do not intend to fight. We understood that colonialism is business.
Does Britain have
global
the
trade
navy to
system that
control
is
all these territories and
horribly
keep them safe?
complex. We don't understand the hostility
we are
about
really
this.
expressing our interest
Where's this
to
aggression
delve
coming
within-
from?
It's not aggression.
Yes, it is. They've been brought to a Congress of Europe.
Let's
don't know.
briefly hold on. Let's briefly list what Britain currently lays claim to: large regions of Western Africa, all of the Nigerian Delta, which is very valuable, parts of northern Eastern
I will
Africa,
remind
near
the world
Ethiopia,
that the Prussians
South
have already
Africa.
intruded onto the Niger Delta without even informing the British account of their actions.
We felt no need for it.
Well, the Dutch, the initial expansion opportunities that the Dutch held were within the West African region. We agreed to the claims of the French, and therefore we do not desire any Islamic regions within West Africa.
Does anyone have a map out currently? Can someone bring in a big map? We need a map. We got a big table here.
Yes, the British have a map. We were not informed
Beautiful.
we should need to bring one. It does sound like the United Kingdom will not be left with anything at the end of this.
The Horn of Africa and Egypt. Sorry, not Egypt. Ethiopia.
I'm flabbergasted that all of this is happening, especially without our consent or wish for input.
Oh, no
Is
wonder.
any respect for British claims going to be listened to during this start of war? Then that's how they wish to start a war in
So
Europe.
just to make this clear, the British will not be acknowledging this conference and will be declaring war on the other nations that are going to be colonizing?
What more delusions do we have to tolerate from these Prussians?
Great Britain. I ask that you please, this is the French, please sit at this table and at least acknowledge that we should somehow divide up our claims so that we don't lose colonies to war or unrest.
We accept this, but we don't understand the form this is taking.
You said you wish to
when is
avoid
the
war.
British going to be allowed to present their maps to the world?
Well, what would you like to claim then?
Or does the map of the world simply entirely be accepted as
What
British?
do you wish to claim in Africa?
Everything.
And there he says it plainly for all to hear.
There we go.
There it
But
is.
if people wish to make requests to
No,
us,
no,
they could have made requests to us at
you
any
made your
time.
opinion very clear, I think,
You,
here.
you
do
are
not
not the
understand.
custodian for the entire continent of Africa.
We thought we were. If anybody had
You
a problem, they
definitely
could have let
thought
us
that.
know.
But reality is
This
catching up of your
We are
delusions
now
here.
letting you know we have a problem with you considering yourself the sole custodian for Africa.
Yes.
The Austrian delegation
you-
would like to raise to the powers of Europe that what should happen if Britain decides to ignore this Congress and declare war on a colonial power in order to take their nations.
The chair would propose a defensive alliance on that matter.
I mean, Prussia's not going to band together with all the colonial powers for an alliance, but like, to stop the British, perhaps. Perhaps the powers could agree that Portugal can have those regions as long as they leave the British customs union, though. Would the powers agree that that'd be reasonable?
I agree.
That sounds reasonable.
I think that's a major part of the issue with the British right here, is that they don't seem to understand that through the Portuguese and themselves, they've laid claim to more than 80% of the African continent. Part of this deal is to maintain order in those areas, to maintain the European overall market's access to these goods. So any country that is unable to hold on to their lands due to unrest, rebellion, and things such as that, I do think that we need to be careful. In countries, I do issue a warning that that we need to see this as an economic issue for all of Europe. So
The Prussian delegation would just like to agree fully with the French on this. It is important for two reasons. One, we cannot allow liberal ideas and extreme politics to appear in other regions of the world than Europe. Europe, of course not, but especially in regions like Africa, it's prime for all manners of extreme ideology.
The Spanish delegation would have received a letter from Madrid that British colonies have begun appearing in several areas of the western coast of Africa.
The Dutch would like to bring also attention to this, as it has appeared in Dutch claims within the region.
For starters,
They intend to destroy this treaty here and now, it seems. I have a proposal. The Prussians have a proposal here. Although we are all very, shall we say, reliant on British trade and goods, there are many in Europe now who have the economies to sustain global commerce. We propose a non-violent solution, since this gathering here today was intended to uphold peace in Europe. What if, for any nation, whether it be the British or anyone else who breaks this treaty, all nations gathered here today would embargo them?
hegemony over Africa removed, and I agree, but I do not think this needs to be any sort of war over European soil. So any sort of diplomatic arrangements we make with the British or any sort of declarations of war that are made should be made with that understanding.
Of course, however, the Austrians would like to say that while we may all agree to that, I don't feel as if the British military will honour that agreement, and so should they step forth in lands that aren't colonial, then we would suggest that other nations take that step as well, and then I will happily go and let them know our plan to embargo and give them the opportunity to uphold the deal should they decide to work with us in this matter.
Very well.
Hello, I have returned, my delegation has returned from the British Parliament. It appears that they are completely abhorrent against any idea, and so therefore it is within the Austrians' view that we should all embargo them as per the agreement, as they refuse to acknowledge any of our claims.
Thank you all for attending this conference in Berlin.
Hello there, Ambassador. This is a talk well due.
Greetings. We obviously understand you have imperialistic ambitions as you are a great power.
Ambassador, we know that you have obviously taken this line in Ethiopia, but unfortunately, I think there are many in Europe who would actually see, if anything, it to be a threat. Conquering all this territory without any right. The Germans, of course, now claim all of Ethiopia, Somalia, and the interior there, and we do intend to take it. But before anything else is said, I would much prefer that Germany and Egypt be able to cooperate here, and that we might be able to benefit one another. We would be happy to compensate you for the territory and work more closely. Subsidies, a trade deal, things like that. This, if anything, could be a boon to Egypt. That's all I wish to say before you continue.
First of all, I am ready to partiate some territories, but not all of Ethiopia. So, if your assistant can bring them.
What regions are you wishing to retain?
The Principality of Tigray, of Wello, Begemder, Gojam, and Welega would be enough for us, and the rest can be yours.
We will give you one simple offer. We'll allow you to keep Eritrea, Tigray, and Begemder. Those 3 regions we'd be willing to let you keep.
In which way?
Subsidies, as well as an economic deal if you would wish to trade more closely with the British. 13,000 a week.
For how longer?
We'd be willing to give it to you for 5 years.
We're gonna accept the previous deal then.
Very well. You will keep those 3 territories. We will subsidize you, and the rest of it will be ours. We have a deal then?
Yes, we have. Well, thank you very much. I'm very pleased we found an agreement then.
Ambassador, or I apologize, Kaiser, I must say, the Berlin conference went quite well.
I think so too. We have successfully alienated the British Empire from the rest of their allies, and I think we have the European mainland poised against them. Excellent work on your part for that. Indeed, this is most excellent. I'm very excited for the future and what that holds.
Regarding the regions of Portugal that they own, which it appears they're not going to want to give up.
Indeed.
We're gonna most likely have to use, you will have to use force there to take that. And we just like to reiterate that the Prussians are willing to support you.
I apologize if this is a bad time, but I just
We would
talked
like
to
to-
the British, and they have said that you have not clearly stated what claims they need to give up in Africa.
I told them many a time, they refused to listen. If you would like to talk to them, that if they uphold the agreement labeled discussed in the Congress of Europe between the rest of Europe, then we will happily unembargo them. Indeed,
I think we all heard it quite
consider
loudly.
themselves, yes, they consider themselves the sole owner of all of Africa, which is
Sorry, may the Portuguese population speak?
I must admit, I was hesitant about working with the Prussians. You're a new up-and-coming nation, and your ideas are quite unique in terms of how you manage your country, but I believe this partnership so far has been most effective.
We agree. I mean, we also have had a long history of Austria. I mean, land that is ours was once yours, and such as the other way around. But we do have our shared Germanic heritage, which the Queen find to be very important. Many of my husband's ancestors looked first to their own prestige and power before anything else, but I like to think of myself as a bit more practical when it comes to a future for all Germans.
Indeed. I'm glad that is the case.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss here, Kaiser, before Wonderful. I'm very glad to hear that you are agreeable to our offer. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Kaiser, and I hope we will meet again very soon. This is an interesting fucking game. I can't believe that the United Kingdom refused to cooperate in that fucking deal. My God, we're walking out of this. Let me clarify with what we're walking out of this with, okay? We got Ethiopia, we got the interior of Africa, we're gonna have Egypt really heavily cooperating with us, and probably a really good reason to ask for the Suez. We are going to have most of the European powers now friendly to us for securing them territory in Africa and hostile to the one person who could potentially rival us, which is the British, besides the French, of course. And we also managed to secure from the Portuguese the territories over here, which we have to go talk to the Dutch about. But given we just secured them, you know, there's another issue we're gonna have to deal with too, which is Schleswig-Holstein. This is German land. Or economically, we really need to get access to some dyes here. Not the, well, the British we can trade with because they're gonna abide by the deal, so we'll keep trading with them.
Okay, I am prepped. I'm just double checking my navies are all okay. 50 active, 23. So this works better than before. I have upgraded them, and I currently have.
I think our
enough opium
militaries are both
supplies.
much more advanced here. They really only have 37 battalions left. That's because the rest of them are engaged with the British, the French. Jesus. So this is a very diplo-heavy game, which I love. But okay, so what we demanded in the war: 2 treaty ports. We're gonna take Hong Kong, and then we're gonna take Quanzhou, and then we're gonna liberate Burma and try and later on bring them into our sphere. Reparations from the Qing, and then the Austrians are getting a treaty port too. So that's what we're currently going for in this war. We're about to launch a naval invasion with our very modern navy. But generally, we're at a really good place in this game. Now, we're in a very tenuous position. We went a little quicker than I intended to in being really powerful in world politics, and powerful generally. I mean, our economy is massive. Our military is massive. We're very strong here. We're in a tenuous position because if we fuck up here and misstep, we might actually not do very well. Our relationship with Austria is good, But to ever think that they wouldn't backstab us at some point for something is not why. I haven't worked on our laws at all. We've been very stagnant in many ways. There we go. Petite bourgeoisie and the industrialists. In terms of laws, we have pretty much everything I think that we still would want at this point. Healthcare, we could do private. That makes sense. We'll go for private healthcare. All right, we should be able to land here given the French.
All right, let's do this quick then. You propose your prices.
The
British offer 1.5.
The Dutch offer 1.5 and one.
So we have 2 million.
The French 2.5.
England 3.
What is the current offer?
It's from the Kingdom of Prussia.
16 million.
16.
I'm not matching that.
I'm not matching that either.
The current bid is British at what, 17.5?
Yeah.
You must understand the animosity between the Prussians and their funders during the 7 Years' War.
Just, I don't understand why you have to...
We'll let the British take it. We're
Bidding's
done.
at 17.5.
Sorry, I was just trying to bid up the fucking British. We're good. He 19.5.
So the last offer is the 19.5 from the British Empire. The British Empire will transfer us the sum to us, and they will receive the Suez Isthmus and have full rights of the canal that will be constructed.
We'll do conservative stuff. Yeah, the British just paid 19.5 million for the Suez. Florian Kirchberger has offered to spend some of their personal wealth to fund the creation of a university. Absolutely. Another letter from the Ripper. Keep doing. So, by the way, we did win the war with the Qing. We managed to secure a treaty port in Hong Kong, and in we got one other one. Where's the other one at? And in Guangzhou as well. We got 2 of them. In addition to that, we have freed Burma, and we're going to want to try and bring them into our sphere. So, at this time, we brought the Somalian region under control, and we'll just have to wait to get a safe transfer from Egypt. Economically, we're in really good shape. We have insanely large gold reserves. Our production is massive. Let's get that even higher, though. Our investment pool is still going up. Oh my god. That's a big deal.
I will hear them out, of course, as my diplomatic duties preside. But I don't.
We also wish to have a talk to you about the situation, because I want to reiterate the fact that the Ottomans have been coming to us and attempting to seek trading, reconciliation, and cooperation. We're not opposed to that, because especially after this meeting, we're now even more worried than ever about Russia. I mean, he made all sorts of suggestions that he might start to work with our enemies and things like that, which is exactly what we feared. So we just would like to have a frank talk with the Austrians about where to go from here. Because we, more so than both of them, I mean, value the Austrian Empire's cooperation with Prussia, which has been instrumental for both of us, I think, coming so far.
No, absolutely, you are right in regards to that. Russia throwing its weight around is not something that is good for Europe. They can be an absolute menace when poked too hard.
Have you considered the alternative, which is to have a frank conversation with the Ottomans, make it clear we don't want further expansion, and start to cooperate more heavily with... I mean, the Ottomans are honest about what they want. They want to rebuild a semblance of power, something they haven't had for quite some time. Let's be honest, they will never rival either of us. The Russians could eclipse us, and that is the issue here.
Trying to seek allies currently, and I think alienating them could lead them to different parties.
We'd be willing to cool off relations with Russia. We'd be willing to stay completely out of the Ottoman situation, out of difference to our friends in Austria. But we would have a request from you that we, after lots of cooperation in the past, make clear what we are and form an alliance, a Germanic alliance.
A formal alliance? That is interesting.
We will never trust the Russians, but we do seek friendship in Austria. And if this can be formalized, then we have nothing to fear from the Russians, at least for now.
That works for us. We have seen our friendship grow, and we've seen you grow into a mighty nation, and think this is something that a unified German presence, not fully unified of course, just militarily, would be allow us to dictate a lot of the politics that happens in Europe. And you know, in due time, if Russia gets big enough with our economies, we could quite quickly sway them into a decision that favors
We
us.
fully agree. All right, so we are going to take Schleswig-Holstein along with the Swedes. They're going to take Denmark, which is fine. There's no Germans there, mostly. We need secret police. Apparently there's a lot of liberals trying to gain power. We're not having that. We'll deploy more law enforcement. We have more electricity. Let's go ahead and utilize that. We're lighting all of our cities. Beautiful. General Albrecht von Vroon's personal habits are starting to get in the way of his role as general. He is... What is he doing? He's an alcoholic. This is 1858. If you're not an alcoholic general, you're fucking weird. So no, we'll deal with it. Every general in Europe was a fucking alcoholic. That makes no sense. What's our economy like as well? I'm a little worried about that. Not bad. The Russians passed us, which I was worried about. The recent expansion of power plants in Brandenburg has inspired faith in a future where all of Kingdom of Prussia is electrified. We'll go for the steam turbine. We can't take war reparations, but that's fine. We don't need them. We just need Schleswig-Holstein. And we got pan-nationalism at the same time.